Well, then, doesn't that suck? Yeah, hi, everybody. Welcome to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. That's right here on YouTube. Coming up.
Welcome back, folks. Sometimes those things that go bump in the night are monsters. So join us this week for some Bigfoot vocals from British Columbia, Canada, as the Red sets us off on an adventure to the squatchiest country on the planet. Scientists believe that more than 2/3 of the North American Bigfoot live in Western Canada. And tonight, we're going to hear what they sound like, along with a Quasi theory and more camping tips for stupids. It's going to be a night not to be missed, folks. And now, here's the host, the man whose beard holds citizenship in at least 3 countries, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
That's right. And for those wondering, that would be America, the USA, Bangladesh, and Tahiti. Yes, those are the countries that my beard holds citizenship in. Not me, just my beard. Welcome, everybody, back to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. We are here Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., specifically at Pacific time. That's right. I'm trying to get the camping tips loaded here. There we go. All right, now we are finally ready to go this evening. How is everybody doing? I am the Reverend Jeff Kelly, and we are going to talk about Canada Bigfoot tonight. That's right. Ooh, Canada. Yeah, we got to remember America's hat. I say that all the time, but I love my Canadian fans. I really do, and I have friends now that are Canadians, and that's wonderful things as well. So, before we get into all of that, we are going to do some newsy type information. That's right. I'm not exactly sure. That's it. There it is. I think that's the one. Hey, look, it's my YouTube channel that doesn't pay me anymore. All right. The LAD Bible. That's right. Heartwarming footage shows a chimp playing airplane with the baby. That's right. It's awesome. It really does show how close to us we are together. And as my hypothesis goes, Sasquatch would be the 5th chimpanzee. So they could probably play an airplane with their babies too. I just think the video was very, very well done. We're not above the great apes. We are of the great apes. We are just communicate differently. If they could communicate better, they're so much stronger than we are. We'd be living in the mountains and they'd be living down here in the cities, and Planet of the Apes would be a real thing. But goodness sakes for us, it's not. ScienceDirect.com, the Mendocine hominid footprints, and what do they know? Jeff Meldrum and Esteban Sarmiento. Yeah, that was the guy that flipped ship on his thoughts on Bigfoot when he realized that there was more money in for Bigfoot than there was in being against Bigfoot. Because originally, when Esteban Sarmiento came out, he was all, "Oh, look, I can make my foot bigger. I can soak my foot in acetone and make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and I can stamp dermal ridges all over. Sure, I can fake Bigfoot tracks, no problem." Now here he is co-authoring with Jeff Meldrum on the possible Miocene hominid footprints. Just find it interesting. There it is. ScienceDirect.com. Figured I would mention it. It's out there. Go look for it. I found it on Facebook. The Daily Star loves Bigfoot. I know our British fans are like, the Daily Star is like the Inquirer, right? Yeah, that's why I like it. It's awesome. Apparently there's a frenzy as footage as captures roars of the mystical beast in America. Yeah. In the clip, the camera has been set to an unidentified forest in the U.S. An area is reportedly a hotspot where people have claimed to see. Well, how do we know it's a hotspot if we don't know where it is? I don't know. I don't believe it. None of it. I want it all to be true. I really do. The only thing I actually believe is the Patterson Gimlin footage. Sorry. The Blue Mountain footage from Freeman. That's a close second. I just wish he had a better camera. It's sad that the 67 footage cleaned up better than that footage did, but those 1994 home cams were not the greatest things in the world. Hey, guess what? Todd Standing's back at it again. That's right. The tracker takes BC government to court to prove Bigfoot exists. Bullshit. Excuse me. I had something in my throat I had to clear real quick. A BC man taking the provincial government to court for allegedly damaging his credibility in not acknowledging that the Sasquatch, also known as Bigfoot, may exist. Don't you have to have credibility before your credibility can be ruined? I mean, if your credibility is crap to begin with, I don't think you can really charge somebody with making it worse. Apparently, Todd does. Tracker and documentarian Todd Standing will make his case that the species is real on Tuesday. I can't wait to see what evidence he brings out on Tuesday. It'll be the same old crap that everybody has seen, by the way. There is no new footage, by the way. There'll be no new evidence brought to the courtroom other than the crap that's been put out on YouTube for years. The Amazon documentary was nothing but a rehashing of that same YouTube crap. He says the evidence he has is way beyond a reasonable doubt that the species exists to nobody except for him. So apparently he's still given the same old crap, but here's the kicker. He says that he will present testimony from police officers, fishery officers, engineers, nurses, and doctors who say they have witnessed the species. Standing, who charges US $4,800 for week-long Sasquatch seeking expeditions, has planned to file similar suits in Alberta and Washington State, where he says Sasquatch can also be found. Yeah, whatever. I saw this come up on Dr. Meldrum's page again today. The Relic Hominid Inquiry, of course, is the Idaho State University's branch of maybe cryptozoology. I don't know. Is it their acceptance of it? Not really sure. The Primate Society of Great Britain is actually the pen of no other than Mr. Elephant Man, Ian Redmond. And I love the man. He's an awesome person. I've communicated with him several times on some serious, topic type personal, discussion. And he was really easy to talk to and get along with. He was a very interesting gentleman. So if you are a fan of the Relic Inquiry, there is a new article up there about the 50th anniversary of the Patterson-Gimlin film. And finally, wrapping up the news tonight. Yeah, I know I've been a little bit long-winded on it. Daryl Ross posted this in the lounge. I thought it was fantastic. It's a birdhouse that he built last year, and he says that the birds are actually using it. So good job there, sir. That is Mr. Daryl Ross. That's badass. I would hang one of those up if I had a tree. I really would. That's pretty cool. Thanks for posting that up in the lounge this evening. And that, everybody, is the news. What do we do after the news? That's usually where we get our Quasi on. So with that, we'll bring us back to Mr. Dean Cooper, our Quasi scientist, and get a little Quasi. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Karma. Karma, karma, karma. Damn near everybody uses the word these days. Good karma, bad karma, credit karma, karma gold, karma GoPro, karma car was last for our registered brand names. Damn near everybody who says it thinks they know what it means. They think it means you do good things and good things happen to you. Ditto for doing bad things, and they're correct, sort of. Karma is a Sanskrit word that more accurately means for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Yep, Newton's good old third law of motion, as illustrated by those desk toys with the two balls suspended on a rod. where you swing one, it hits the other, which then swings up and then back and whacks the one you swung, which then, well, you've all seen what that toy does. Newton's third law leaves out an important aspect of the concept of karma, though. Newtonian physics has everything happening in empty space. In Hindu metaphysics, there is no empty space, so karma can't be looked at as simply as the third law views things, like things bumping back and forth for all eternity. The Hindu universe is multi-layered, much like modern quantum physics. There are dimensions within dimensions, with all those dimensions occurring in a substrate, a conscious substrate, technically called the Brahman. You can think of it as sort of a universal mind, sort of, or an ocean of all consciousness. All apparently separate individual things are more like little wavelets that are created by the internal self-movement of that ocean. All these wavelets are necessarily conscious, some more, some less, since they are all part of that ocean of consciousness. I hope none of you dropped acid or did some shrooms. This has definitely gone cosmic, as the old hippies would say, like me. Okay, so back to karma. The word karma comes from the Sanskrit word kri, which comes from a hypothesized Proto-Indo-European word krer, spelled K-W-E-R. Krer means to make or form. Our word create comes from the same root word. Karma means an action, whether word or deed, that you created. We are all of us, from the smallest subatomic particle to you and me, to this universe we live in, and beyond that to all the other possible universes. We are all in that one ocean of consciousness. So each and every little wave of karma we create eventually will, in this life or another, come back around and give us a little kiss, or slap us upside the head with that good old third law of Newton. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydin.com. That's BHDIN.com.
Well, there you have it, folks. Bydin.com. That's right. God, I love the creepy background music that I picked for that. I always have. All right. Well, that brings us up to another brand new Camping Tips for Stupids. That's right. Right here. Next on the Squatchers Lounge podcast.
Camping Tips for Stupids. Tip number 69. The human body is basically a big bag of human blood and a little bit of poop and some pee. Basically, you're just a big bag of gross stuff. So, what happens when you're way out in the woods, the farthest away you'll ever be from any hospitals or doctors, and for whatever reason, a coked out Andy dick pulls out of the bushes and bites you hard in the leg? Ain't no Band-Aid gonna stop that mess. When you see bright red blood squirting out of a wound at high pressure, don't bother trying to use compression bandages or gauze just yet. There is no time for that. Keeping a cat tourniquet in your med kit could make all the differences in the world in this scenario. You want to apply it around 4 to 6 inches above the wound and cinch it down until the wound stops bleeding. Then and only then would you start other treatments, but not before. A severed artery is a very grave wound, and a full-grown man can bleed out in less than a minute, but can pass out in half that time. So get that tourniquet on ASAP. And yes, it's a last-ditch move to save your life, risking the leg or limb. But you can leave a tourniquet on for up to 5 hours. Plenty of time to get heli-vac out of there and into a hospital where they can remove it. And on a side note, watch out for fake cat tourniquets on the market. Shop at trusted vendors. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to carry bear spray for coked out Andy Dicks.
That's right. That's right. Bear spray for coked out Andy Dicks. Absolutely right. Yeah, that's for sure. No joke. Minute flat, you can bleed out on the ground. So, hey, when it comes to bears, always hike with somebody slower than you. And when it comes to first aid, don't let Andy Dick anywhere near you. Yeah, exactly. Let's see here, folks. Let's talk tonight and see who is in the Squatchers Lounge Hangout Revival Tent. A whole bunch of people hanging out with us tonight. So let's find out exactly who is in there. Lance Windsor, there's the man. He's always hanging out from Canada himself. We've got Starshine, another Canadian, swinging her tool out there, giving us social warrior justice for all. That's right. Aaron Duncan is in the house. Good evening to you, as well as Natalie Smith. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Who? Billy John is in the house. Spike Jeff is in the house as well. How you doing? How you doing? Mr. Dean Cooper, we heard from him earlier. How you doing, our quasi theorist himself? James the Grower, how you doing, pal? Brown Dwarf checking in. There's a whole lot more than that coming up, so just bear with me here. That was all pre-show stuff. I see Shane Barber, the cryptid monster. Hey, dude, glad you're here with us. Danny from Texas. Hi. That's right, Texas. The only places that'll put retards to death. It's just a crazy place. I'm sorry. Don Rife, how you doing, champ? Cameron Young, another Canadian, checking in with us. Glad you are with us as well. The Sherman Park Sports Talk. Yeah, you should check it out. Kirk Surface. Man, that's like Keith Moon. I don't know. It's a cool name. Rod Dupree. He's always in a place to be. How you doing, champ? Glad you are there as well. Timothy McCune. Hey, man. Fishing is, fishing in the Rev. That's a whole lot of fun night. Don Fuller. How you doing? Donald Fuller's checking in. Jonathan Dowdy. Hello. How are you? Glad you are with us as well. There's Kent. Every week, get it all over my microphone every single week, but that's okay. Oreo Cream Rocks, hello. I'm glad you are here with us as well. I am going cross-eyed from staring at this little tiny script. Hey, Squatchy Inc. There's the man, Wes, your old pal Wes. So there's SCJMO. How you doing? Glad you are with us. I see there's Billy and Mary and Jimmy and Hi and Stevie and Willie and there's Nye. I'm sure that Cassie, the Squatch Fox, is out there and Christopher's listening as well. Christy, the monster truck gal. How you doing? Glad you're with us. Monster trucks and scary stories usually go together. I got some creepy sounds tonight. Seriously. Some of them I might have an answer for, but some of them I don't know. Dave Jackson, hey man, I am glad you're well enough to join us tonight, buddy. I hope you are feeling a little bit better. Let's see here. We are just about down to the bottom of it, and there we have it. So if I haven't said hi to you, I don't know you're here. Kick us another hello in the chat room, and I will get back to you before the end of the show. That's right. So tell me about Canada, people. Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Western Canada. The whole Snow Grove Lake area that they had the Monster Quest about. They didn't really lie to you, but it wasn't as off the grid as they would like it to have been. However, to go out that far in the wintertime to mess with somebody's cabin that doesn't really have anything in it just doesn't make any sense. It's one of the places that I have always wanted to go and Sasquatch for myself. The Western Canada, there's a whole bunch of nothing in Western Canada. I mean, a whole bunch of nothing in Western Canada until you get all the way to Alaska for the most part. I mean, old gold fields. There's like one highway that runs up there, and that wasn't even built until like the 1970s. I mean, it's a place just where people aren't. And that would make sense as to why the British Columbia area is the area that would hold the most Sasquatch in North America, as they haven't had the pressures put on them as we've put on all the animals in the lower parts of the Americas. So here, let me bring up so that those of you that don't know where British Columbia is can understand it. Yeah, there we go. That's the British Columbia map. It is on the west of, God bless it, on the western side of Canada, all the way out to the ocean. Edmonton, there's Sherwood Park. Hey, look at that. Come on. I don't know why it's being this bad. There we go. So hopefully it'll catch up for you here. All right. So the first case we're going to make tonight here is it's actually out of Alert Bay. It's a single catch. It's very strange. I was able to get a sample out of it. And let's just play it and see if you can take a listen to it. Now, this was part of a TV broadcast that went all over the news. Bindernagel actually even went to the area and did some squatching with the news guy. It's an area devout of bears or lions or any real type of large fauna that would be able to make that kind of noise. So here I've boosted it up. I've normalized it and repeated it for us. I mean, whatever that is, as we say, is large-lunged and able-bodied. One last time, we'll give it the triple play. I just have to classify this one as unknown because I've never heard this type of call associated with Bigfoot. But then again, I've never heard it associated with anything else either. Now this next one I've got coming up here, there's a minute of actual play time, and I'm going to let it rip so that you can hear it naturally as I heard it for the first time. And then we've enhanced quite a bit of it. So don't get your panties in a bunch if you can't hear the howls. I've brought them up quite a bit here in just a moment.
The hell was that?
these guys are working with the horses, and the horses start going, back crazy. I mean, those horse whinnies are not playful. They're not happy. They're definitely stressed out. And now I've taken and enhanced it, and let's take a listen to it again.
The hell was that?
Now, obviously, the horses could hear it long before the recorder or the people could hear it. But then once it came into, their audible range, that one's disturbing. This sounds very, very humanly vocal almost, but. Yeah, I really just don't know really what to make out of that. I've got it is the best I could bring it up to levels and level it out for you. To play it 3 times in a row. So take a listen to it. Whatever that sound is, the horses definitely do not like it. That is for sure. So now this next one I've got coming up here, this is Creepy Screams, and it's quite a bit. I've got 44 seconds of it. It was a longer video, of course. I was able to cut sections of it out that make sense for our presentation here. And again, I was able to do some really nice enhancements on this one. So let's give the original a listen.
What that is? I don't know. Scary shit. Fuck is that? What the fuck? Everyone else is hearing it too.
Now, I mean, that's horrifying. I may actually have a finger on what that possibly could be, and I'll make that suggestion here in a little bit. But I was able to enhance it up, and this is the best it could be over the levels that we had. So let's take a listen to it.
What that is? I don't know. Scary shit. Fuck is that? What the fuck? Everyone else is hearing it too.
I don't. I thought I had a hit on what that could be. I really did. So I broke it down and I separated out some of the screams, and then I was able to enhance just those screams, which made it even more difficult to be able to tell what those is. Let's give those a listen to. Now, at first, I thought maybe a mountain lion. Mountain lions in the heat make some god awful noises, but I don't know. I'm sure there's mountain lions in this area. I don't know what the consideration would be. That's one of the downfalls of not knowing that much about British Columbia. But well, then I took the next set and did the same thing with it, enhanced it, and let's take a listen because things kind of changed a little bit. Now, the one thing I want to note about that particular enhancement is the fact that you can still hear the crickets and the nighttime sounds that are going on between whatever is screaming and the recorder, which means the nighttime animals and bugs and those types of things are used to whatever that terrifying sound is. Usually when things are strange in the night, it gets very deathly silent. And that's not the case in this particular sound. So I was able to take the last one and enhance it the same way. And I'm kind of wavering now. I'm not sure a mountain lion could make this sound. So there you have it, folks. I mean, that is the conditions from British Columbia. I know that I'm pretty satisfied that those are some unknown animal calls to me. Of course, there's going to be a comment section. You can leave comments down there. Click the subscribe button. Click the notification button so that you find out when we are live. The real Bigfoot encounters will start coming out as single files, as single episodes for themselves. After next week's podcast. So we have that to look forward to as well. I'm going to take a last peek over here in the chat box, make sure that I didn't miss anybody that came in late, and it looks like we are clear over there. So we are going to say thanks so much, everybody, for being here. I do have a real Bigfoot encounter flashback for you here at the end of the show tonight. So this one's about the Sierra Rangers. This is one of my favorites as well. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next week at 8 p.m. Pacific time. That's right, on the Squatchers Lounge podcast. May the Squatch be with you. Welcome to another episode of Real Bigfoot Encounters. This week's report comes to us from the high peaks of the Sierra Mountains in Northern California. A forest ranger discovers a hidden secret that changed his life. Let's hear his story. I can't really give you my real name, but you can call me Fred. I've been a forest ranger with the DFW for nearly 25 years. Throughout all of my years in service, I had heard strange stories here and there, but nothing like the story of an off-grid camper told me. He'd been camping near one of the less used areas. Last night, he swears his camp was attacked by a tall, hairy creature that didn't look like bears to him. He even claimed he had gotten a few shots off with his .357 as he fled the area in his truck. He had the spent rounds to show me as proof. I asked if he had hit, pretty sure one of them took a round or two in the chest. So I took the GPS numbers from him and decided to go up and take a look. I called into dispatch and told him that I had changed my route and my new destination, and just called it a possible wounded animal call and started off on the drive. I soon left the county road and was full-time on unpaid logging roads, heading higher and higher towards the peak. The GPS says I'm only 5 miles from the location, but it takes me nearly 2 hours to arrive at the camp. Sure enough, just as he described, the camp was ransacked and tossed everything about. The tent was ripped to shreds and his cooler was destroyed, and food wrappers were just strewn all about. Could be bears, but I'd have to take a closer look. Now, as I got out of the truck, I could have sworn I heard what sounded like rocks clacking together, but maybe I was just hearing things. I made my way over to the camp center, and I started noticing some really strange-looking tracks, unlike anything I'd ever seen in my career. They sure looked like human tracks, but much larger and wider than mine, and I wear a 13 Triple E, easily 20 inches long and 10 inches wide, and they seemed to be everywhere. I was starting to get a little nervous. The camper had described 4 to 5 animals in his camp, and if they're leaving tracks this big, I might be unprepared. I walked near the wood line where the camper had said he had hit one of the animals in the chest. And sure enough, there were far more tracks in that area and a blood trail with what looked like drag marks leading away from the campsite down a trail. I went back to my truck and I grabbed my shotgun. I had no signal on my cell phone to call, but the GPS in the truck tells them exactly where I'm at. If there's a wounded animal out there, I couldn't just let it suffer, so I tracked it into the denser woods and followed the drag marks that led down to a creek. I followed the creek up just a bit, and I noticed what looked like blood on the reeds, so I crossed the stream to the other side, and when I got to the edge of the tree line and stared out into the meadow, that's when I spotted the most amazing sight I've ever seen. There, near the other end of the meadow, were 3 large upright walking creatures and a smaller one, kind of mulling around near the edge of the far woods. We were at least 2 to 3 miles from the campsite, way off grid. They were obviously engaged in something, so I grabbed my field glasses and took a better look. What I thought was a smaller one was actually another full-size animal that was digging in a very large, deep hole. The hole had to be at least 4 foot deep, and right next to it was a pile of dirt. I spotted something else. It was the dead animal, one of the same creatures I could see working on this hole. So I slunk back into the shadows so I wouldn't be noticed and just watched through the glasses in amazement. The others helped the big one out of the hole, and then they kind of held hands with their heads held back and their faces in the air, rocking back and forth. It almost sounded like chanting coming from the group. Not really voices per se, but grunting and low whooping in unison. Then just as sudden, they stopped and dragged the dead animal into the hole. Then they covered it up with the pile of dirt. It hadn't taken long before the animal was completely buried. Then each animal, one at a time, grabbed a handful of dirt and tossed it in the air and walked off into the woods and disappeared until they were all out of sight. I didn't bother to approach the site as it was obviously a burial and deserved some respect. I had heard tales of Bigfoot before, but never seen such amazing creatures before that event. I don't care if you believe me or not. I'm just passing on the information for what it's worth. Now, this ranger witnessed a Bigfoot burial. For him, that was a life-changing event. For me, it was yet another real Bigfoot encounter. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.